Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay and today FFG have blessed us with the rules update that we knew was coming. So the rules reference guide has been updated and there's some pretty big changes. Specifically they're targeting Shoretroopers and Tauntauns, which is interesting, but they're not targeting them with point changes. They're targeting them with rule changes that slightly nerf the gameplay. And we'll get into that and more in a moment. First, if you like this video, press like, and if you're not subscribed, press subscribe. That really does help. Thirdly, whatever you want to call it, if you like this piece of terrain, which is like a fuel silo, there's a template for it, and you can check out the video for that on my terrain channel called Terrain Made Easy. Plug. I think it's a good video. Go check it out, please. It would really help. There's a link in the description. Thankfully, instead of sitting here and going through all of these rules, which we have done before, trying to target which ones are actually relevant to us, FFG have done a fantastic thing, I must say, and have done essentially a summary article. Now, they're not saying that these are all the rule changes. As you just saw, one of them, they're like, there's a margin of error, not margin of victory, that's going to come at a different point. And you can see it's obviously a big rule. They're not just rewriting the rules, they're summarizing them and putting them into an article, which I must applaud FFG for doing that. I think that's a great addition and saves me a lot of work, because I was going to go on Discord. I was like, has anybody summed it up? And they're like, there's an article, Jay. And I was like, yep, I'm not very smart. So they talk about why they are doing this to Shoretroopers and Tauntauns. And what they've done is they are not actually changing their points. They're not even errating their cards necessarily. What is changing is a couple of different things, but mainly comms relay is being it so you can only be a non-emplacement trooper. So for the Shoretroopers, what's happening is that the emplacement troopers that you got, the mortars, were getting comms relay and you were just throwing out order tokens left, right and centre basically. So you can't chain them as effectively now. That's probably a good change, I think, for most people might agree. It's a little bit weird to it's a roundabout way of targeting things and nerfing things by changing the rules that apply to other things as well. But, they obviously don't want to change the exact cards. There's another thing for creature troopers. Basically, they now need to withdraw to get out of combat. However, they basically anything with a notch base, including like emplacement troopers, when they do withdraw, they'll be able to reposition and stuff like that. Whereas traditionally, you wasn't able to do that. And also, when you get cohered, what's the phrase? Displaced, you now have to cohere within a move one instead of a range one. That blew my mind and quite a few people's mind at tournaments and stuff like that, just because it was always a little bit like, range one seems weird and it's quite far. So there's a couple of nerfs. I think that's the key three. At least I think that is the key three. I don't think there's anything else that I'm missing, but I say that there's obviously a list of them. What I mean is specifically related to Shoretroopers and Tauntauns. There's a massive change here, which I just casually stumbled upon here. I was like reading them and they all sound sensible. And then this one, where it is here, is players can now pre-measure with a movement tool at any time. Fantastic. Fantastic. There's a lot of argument about that. And you find players not knowing if they can get into, if I move here, do I do a second move? Can I do this? You can still only use one range tool at a time. It says only one movement tool and one range tool at a time. Fantastic. So you can be like, can my snowtroopers get in range one of these? And you can do that not even when it's a snowtrooper's turn. The simplicity of that is fantastic. And I love the reasoning for it. And it says, the skill of Legion is found in its strategy and not in its gotcha moments. Fantastic. I really appreciate that. I think that's a great reason for it. And it takes your eyeballing and stuff like that. It's a skill in some games, like it used to be in Warhammer Fantasy, judging distances and stuff like that, where you couldn't measure, was fine because everybody was playing to that rule. But when you've got movement tools and can you notch them up and say can you mark your range tools to say range one, movement one, etc. Yeah, I just really, really, really appreciate that. You could argue to go the opposite way and say you can't use either, but I think it's an all. You either do all or you do none, and all is fantastic. I'm happy with that, and I would have been happy with none. So that's interesting. So, creature troopers and emplacement troopers now cannot climb or clamber. That's one of the other sort of nerfs to them, I guess. When you deploy, you have to emplacement troopers and detachment key units. Oh detachment keyword, units with the detachment keyword, geez, it's a long day, Jay. You also must deploy within the same height as your parent unit. That's fine. You can't, I never even heard of this, but you can't lock a unit by placing your another notch unit in another unit's notch so that they then couldn't actually get the tool in it and then move. Never even heard of that, never even seen that. Bounty and secret mission now no longer interact. Fine, I didn't even know they did personally, but you know, it's good just to not have that, just have that clarified. When you displace, you move. You're in speed 1 instead of range 1. I mentioned that earlier. You can pre-measure. There's also a section talking about that margin of error. That basically is I might swear, is don't be a dick. That's basically what that is. You know, like miniatures get moved, miniatures get knocked. With the best will in the world, you slightly knock over one miniature, you've got to put them back up and put them where you think. Or you're trying to measure and you're trying to measure over a wall, and it's like, is this in? Is this? And you knock something. You know, there's error because of the physical nature of the game. And that's not really a general problem, but it's nice to have a section that says, hey, chill your beans, basically. And yeah, so we got so in addition to Conway's, 2 other upgrades have been, so commanding presence is now specifies 1 to 4. It said range 4, which you could interpret as just being range 4, so they've just corrected that. And wedge now allows you to just free pivot. It's a slight buff, but I don't think it's going to really do enough for the airspeeder. And if you're ever interested in the team battles, you can now order your teammates' units. I've never played a team battle. I'm not sure I ever will, but it's nice to know that it's there. So, as I said, I'm not going to go through this whole shebang here. Look at the margin of error one. Like, yeah, I'm not reading that on camera. That'd be possibly the least fun video of all time. Saying that, I've made a few stinkers in my life, but it is what it is. So that's it. I'm really, really, really happy with. I didn't have a strong opinion about Tauntauns because, quite frankly, I hadn't played against them enough to know that, you know, they were a problem. And Shoretroopers, when I've been looking at, I've got Stormtroopers and I've got Snowtroopers. When I've been looking at either getting the new Stormtrooper upgrade pack or getting like 2 units of Shoretroopers, the Shoretroopers are just better, really, on average, in a lot of situations. Like, they're just better, and I'm not necessarily sure this will be a big enough nerf to bring anything back, but it's nice to have a slight nerf so they're just not commanding their entire force. And Tauntauns, I said, I just didn't play enough against to really know if they were broken or not. Just people moaned about them, which I think, you know, they probably are slightly overtuned. This many people are complaining about it, but it's really hard for me to say. As I said, I never really played enough against them. And then they're just being able to use the movement tool. It just makes it so much easier. I tried to record a battle with Tim. I've not looked at the footage yet, but maybe that'll be going up at the weekend. And there was just moments, and it's like, can these guys get in? Oh, well, we don't know. Or maybe. And we're playing a friendly game, so we just sort of like measured it twice. But technically, you're not really allowed to do it. But in a casual game, you're just going to do that kind of stuff. It's nice to know you can just legally do it. Do it. So that's it. Big, I say big rule changes, actually slight rule changes, but possibly big impact on the meta. We'll see how this affects Worlds. Worlds is in a month's time, and this comes live on the 28th. There'll not be a link in the description. If you want to see this, just check out FFG's articles in the rules section. I'm sure you guys can find that. Have a most beautiful day, though. Like and subscribe. Check out my terrain channel. Goodbye.